Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Europe United Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 26. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the off-season, and the team is starting to come together, but obviously there's still a lot of work to go. We did draft at first overall this year, which is good because we did pick up this guy named Rudolf Klinge. It's actually pronounced not Klinge. I did look up the actual pronunciation of it, but anyways, we have him on the top line. I'm very excited to see what he could do in his rookie season, considering guys like Adam Benak are up to a 78. Obviously, the rest of the team is pretty much a work in progress on offense, but I'm hoping to obviously we continue to build up the forward group as these years go on. And then from a defensive standpoint, obviously we're still looking to Dave Antonio to lead the way, but it is basically our own defensive core of drafted prospects, which is good, and the forward group is mostly ours except for a couple guys on the fourth line, so we're very close to actually having a full roster of prospects that we've developed. So excited to see how these guys play this season, and hopefully they continue to grow, and hopefully we get some good luck in terms of the draft lottery, because what's interesting about this upcoming draft class is we saw at the end of last episode is there is a chance that this Romanian goes first overall, which I've never seen a Romanian supposed to go in the top 5, let alone even maybe the first round. So there is a chance we might be able to get ourselves a Romanian player on this team, which is exciting. If we for some reason don't, though, there is some other options in the first round. You could see this Czechian forward by the name of Hromis might not be a bad option. There's also a couple other defensemen like Holden, who is Polish, currently playing in Sweden. There's also Marcoux, who's Swiss, so there is options for us in this draft again, which is exciting. So I really think this challenge might be actually doable if we keep on getting some good luck with the the generation of prospects. So hopefully the upcoming draft classes in future years as well are very exciting for us. But with that said, let's get you guys' comments. You guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll see how this team does this season and see if maybe we could get our first win in franchise history. So the first comment is from The Real Divinity, who says, I kind of took inspiration with the series. I was doing an all-Russian draft to glory, and that's kind of interesting. I mean, I think doing all-Russia would probably be a little bit easier, but then again, if you're just doing Russians only and not like Ukrainians and stuff like that too, I guess it could be maybe difficult, but I definitely think obviously Russia generates a decent amount of prospects, so it shouldn't be the craziest difficult situation for you. But obviously if you were doing a more unique country, like if you're doing only like Belarusians or something like that instead, obviously that could be a little bit tougher, but yeah, good luck with that. I do think at some point in time, maybe we'll lock it down to an entire country only. That would be kind of interesting. Like if we just did Sweden to glory, something like that down the road, I think that would be a lot of fun as well. But obviously I wanted to kind of take a wider approach with just doing Europe at the moment. The next comment is from the Leafs fan, who says it would be nice if EA could generate a franchise player from one of the select countries you could draft from. It would really help turn this team into a dynasty. And I mean, I think the game actually does generate some prospects like that, franchise players from like places like Czechia and all that. So I'm hoping that at some point maybe we could get some good luck and get a franchise player. But if not, I don't think it's a huge loss just because franchise players usually cost a ton of money down the road. So maybe we prefer to have more just medium elite options rather than a franchise player that's making maybe over $20 million a season. The next comment is from Offseason, who says, I'll use the off-season focusing to improve skating for everyone. It works sometimes. Some prospects are horrible at skating sometimes, and yeah, there is that has happened a lot where there is prospects in later rounds that have like really bad skating. Even sometimes you see first rounders like 15 years in the franchise mode that have no skating. So yeah, maybe eventually we'll just try and get most people that are on our roster to actually work on their skating unless they already have good skating, so that way we could see if we can make our team a little bit faster, because or else we might be a bunch of slow guys out there. And obviously the NHL is pretty fast-paced nowadays, so obviously if we're a slow team, that probably doesn't bode well for how we simulate, I would assume. This comment is from I Am the Quiet One, who says, it's a shame you missed out on that low leap, but thankfully the upcoming draft class could make up for it. Hopefully you get number 1, but again, if you don't, it looks like you're going to be getting another pretty good forward and complete the first line unit as of now. And yeah, that's true. If we don't get the Romanian, which I honestly really want the Romanian just because I've never seen a guy from that country supposed to go that high, but if we do end up getting stuck with Hromis instead, he could honestly help complete our top line. As you can see, he's a right winger. He does shoot left, but he would obviously be a perfectly good fit to put on this top line with Klinge and also with Benak. So Obviously, this would be a really good spot for him. We do need a right wingers, probably the most out of the 4 positions. So if we do have a chance to draft Hromis, maybe we would take him over even the Romanian dude. But it really just depends on what their potentials are like, and if we're drafting in a spot where we can draft the Romanian, or if we have to actually settle with somebody else instead. Next comment is from Mike Garbrandt, who says, Dave is a right D. We need to find a lefty too to play with him. I'd maybe go with the right wing at 5. Looks like a lot of right D in this draft. The video uploads need to be more often. The wait until next episode is killing us. And on that second part about the episodes, I unfortunately can't upload more often than I currently am, just based on what the current series that we're running, because I don't want to have like basically a franchise episode every second day. The good thing is you guys seem to be killing it with this series, so at least the anticipation kind of carries over to the next episode and all that type of thing. It sucks for me too, in a way, waiting that long, just because I have to wait before I record the next episode so I could see your guys' comments and all that stuff. But yeah, in terms of your first part of the comment that you were mentioning about the defenseman, maybe going with the forward instead, like I said, that might not be a bad option, especially considering it completes that top line. But yes, we do need probably more lefties than right Ds in a way, considering Dave is a right D. If we go back over to our defensive core at the moment, like, we don't really have a lot of potential on our left-hand side. We have like Albatozer, who has potential, but Walden doesn't have much. On the right side, Emerson doesn't have much. So like, we need kind of more defensive depth for sure as well, behind guys like Dave Antonio. But I feel like maybe we could try and get Dave to also play left side at some point. So maybe that way we could have him playing next to that Romanian defenseman if we do in fact draft him. So that might be an option for us, is trying to get some players to play in other positions, but obviously some of them probably won't. Speaking of which, we probably need to still talk to Klinga about potentially adding center as a secondary position, so we'll see if we end up doing that or not. In the last and final comments from Ice Attack, who says, you literally predicted Klinga would have 78 faceoffs, lol, good pick. Dave equals captain for me, so he still wants Dave as the captain. And I'm still not too sure if I want to really name a captain yet, but I do think it has to probably be between Dave and Rudolf Klinga, the two of those guys. Maybe the guy we eventually draft down the road could be the captain, but right now I'm not too sure exactly who we want to name captain. The game probably has already named us a captain, but yes, it made Master Liski the captain. We could probably just leave it like that, considering Master Liski's probably going to be out of the lineup eventually down the road, but obviously, once we come to it at some point, we'll have to come up with a good idea for who could be captains and all that. Benak could honestly be maybe an assistant at some point too, considering he's one of our first picks, or he was our first pick of this team. So we'll see what we end up doing with the captains down the road. But right now, we're still a losing team, so I don't feel like we really need a captain on this roster. So anyways, that's that. So let's do one thing to Klinga. Can I see if he'll also maybe add center as a position? Because that's what I wanted to talk to him about at least. Position, let's see. Yeah. We want you primarily at left wing, but we still want to add flexibility to your game as a secondary position. Can you play center? It says it's risky, but he does have 78 faceoffs, so maybe it could work. But I do want to see if we can maybe get him to start developing center as a secondary position. That way he's a little bit more useful in the lineup in terms of where we set him up. So let's see if he can maybe add center as well. And apparently right now he doesn't want to try it. We could try it again next season, but at the moment he's going to probably just stay as a left winger. But we could still play him at center even without asking him. But at the same time, it's not going to have any negative repercussions. So I think we are all set up and ready to go. I just made sure to assign all the scouts as well. So these scouts are all assigned. We only have one in ROW just because there's no prospects here right now. I did put one in Russia just because there is Polish players that seem to develop in Russia. We have still 3 in Finland, Sweden as well, just to find those Norwegians and those Danish players. We have 3 in Austria. We have 3 in Czechia, 3 in Switzerland, and 3 in Germany. So we should be able to find a good chunk of the players that we need, and hopefully we could start finding some good steals in the upcoming years. So I think we're ready to go. Let's go through the preseason and see what this team is able to do. And then obviously when we get to the regular season, it'll be interesting to see if our team can get its first win in franchise history or not. I don't think we're super good on paper still, obviously, so I'm not expecting multiple wins, but if we get even just one, that would be great for our rosters. So Let's go with 5v5 focus for the preseason and season goal. Obviously, we're still got a lot of work to go, as we expected. So let's see what the team could do. Like I said, I do expect maybe at least one win, because I think Klinga could power us potentially to a win, him and Benak. So let's go through the preseason and see what we got, if we get any wins in the preseason or not. We haven't won a preseason game either, and there's our first preseason win, which is technically the first win in franchise history. So that's a good positive potentially going into the season, as we actually took a preseason game, and it only took a long time just to get that. We also lost a game in overtime, so maybe this team can have multiple wins this season, but it really depends on the other team's rosters. But we did beat Washington 3-2, so that's our very first win ever. But obviously it doesn't count yet because it's just preseason. But let's take a look at some preseason numbers, see what our players did in that preseason. Wow, Klinga had 6 points in those games. So yeah, Klinga is probably going to definitely help our offense a lot. But not the craziest amount, I don't think. But him, Benak, and Reber were all actually really good during the preseason, especially Reber, actually, for that matter, because he was only -3 as well. So Reber wasn't even playing top line, but he still had some good production, looks like. Looks like our power play is still clicking decently. Dave Antonio had a good preseason as well, so I'm kind of excited to see what these guys could do. It looks like Lizak's numbers were good, too. They aren't crazy good, obviously, but they're definitely a lot better than where he was not too long ago. So I think we're ready to get into the season and see if this team can win its first official game, considering preseason is just basically setting yourselves up for the season. So kind of curious if our team can find a way to get a win. I don't know who will be against, if you want to drop some predictions on who will beat for our first win in franchise history, but I'm really excited just to see if this team could take that next step. Because obviously, currently, we have lost every single game we played, except for one that was in overtime that we lost as well. So looking for that first win. Let's actually just go sim through the entire season all at once. Just might as well. And hopefully we find out some good stuff about this draft class as well. So game against San Jose, the open the season, we lose 10-0 still to them. So obviously, yeah, this is going to be still a really rough season, as you can see on paper. But if we can find a way to get at least one win, that will at least show that this team is starting to take that next step. We almost beat Detroit. That's not a bad game. We almost beat Minnesota, 3-2 losses in both those games. Boston, we lose 5-2. Yeah, we're not scoring a lot still. That's definitely still something I'm noticing. So I'm not expecting the craziest rookie season from Klinga. Goddamn, I almost can't even pronounce his last name. But I do know how to pronounce his last name also, kind of, because I am part German. So, okay. Can we find a way to get a victory? 7-4 loss to Montreal, so that's probably one of our best offensive efforts of the season up to this point. Hey, we beat the Oilers for our first game? Okay, Connor McDavid needs to retire after that. So there's our first win in franchise history, so mark this up if we all of a sudden start winning a lot of games in the future years, but our first win in franchise history was on home ice. You'll love to see that on a Saturday night against the Edmonton Oilers, who are above 500. So we got to take a look at the stat line from that game, just because I'm curious on who scored the winner and all that. But that is something that will always go down in this team's history if they do find a way to win a Stanley Cup at some point in time. But where is that game against the Oilers? There it is, 3-2 game. I did see who scored the game-winning goal. First, though, Reber scored early on. Then you can see that they did take they did tie the game up. Then Reber actually scored a second of the night to make it a 2-1 game, and then it was 2-2. But Albertozer, with 7 minutes left, scored the game-winning goal. Masterliski had 3 assists that game. Reber had 2 goals and an assist. So the guys that don't have much potential did a lot of work in that game. And look at the effort from Lizak in that game. 50 saves in the victory. So maybe a good season coming from the goaltender in Lizak potentially. I know he's having some bad games, but to have a 50 save effort against Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, that's pretty promising. That is pretty promising. He doesn't have crazy potential, but that's just a really good game from our team in terms of goaltending, at least. We definitely got outplayed, and we're lucky to win that one, but that's our first win in franchise history, so we will never forget that day. Never forget that day. November 13th of 2027. All right, well, let's see if we could add to that and find a way to get any more wins this season, or are we going to just kind of take a small step up from last year? Because last year we had 1 point, the first year we had no points. This year we have 2 points already. Now can we find ways to get more than 2 points? Or are we just going to get blown out every other game? Well, that's kind of crazy we beat Edmonton, because they are the defending Cup champions as well, aren't they? They've won back-to-back, I'm pretty sure, to start the series, so we might have literally beaten a team that's won 2 cups in a row, which is absolutely hilarious for our first win in franchise history. And that's crazy if that's the case, which I think it is, if I remember right, but I could be wrong. Anyways, let's see. Can we find a way to get any more wins as we're getting completely curb stomped? We are only scoring like 1 goal a game and allowing a lot more than that. Come on, boys. Give me 1 more win at least. I 1 win is nice, but I do have a hunger for a couple more wins, maybe. Maybe. But the way we're scoring and allowing goals, I don't think it's going to happen potentially. So a lot of work to go to get our team probably to be a multi-win team, I would assume. Because we're losing like 11-1 in some of these games, 8-2. Like, there's just no offensive production, and we're just allowing a lot. But hopefully this gives us a good chance to get that Romanian defenseman. The thing is, since we're probably going to guarantee ourselves the first pick, aside from the draft lottery, we might not actually win the first overall pick. There's a good chance, since we have the best odds, that we're going to fall to third or something like that, I would guess. So we'll see if we end up getting that Romanian, or if maybe that Romanian's not even supposed to go first overall. Maybe he'll actually fall further. So we might end up having a choice, potentially. Depends on, I guess, how those players move in terms of the rankings and stuff like that. But we have not won since that Oilers game. And yeah, it looks like at this rate, that 1 win is probably going to be our only win. And we're kind of lucky to get that win, like I said, but Lysak made 50 saves in that game. So Lysak is trying his hardest, it seems like, but the team in front of him obviously still needs a lot of work. 1-59. Can we find a way to get any more wins, or is that literally going to be the only win that we get? I'm glad that we got it, but it's kind of crazy that we still only have the 1 win. All right, let's go continue simulating. 1-62, so we have only 19 more games left of the season too. Are we going to find a way to get a second win, or is that going to be it? At least it was against a good team, because that makes it look even better. Colorado 7-2 loss. Detroit 4-2 loss. This engine's kind of going a little bit slower than I was expecting, but maybe my brain's just thinking faster than it is simulating. 7-1 loss there. Winnipeg 8-0 loss. God damn. Yeah, looks like this might literally have been our only win of the season. If we find a way to beat Edmonton again, I'd be surprised, but I think it said last time we played them we lost 9-1, so we kind of got lucky with that 3-2 win that we had earlier. But at least some of these games are a little bit better offensively, like 4 goals for. But definitely there's a lot of work on the offense, especially 16-3 loss to Tampa. That's definitely our worst loss of the season right there. Islanders 5-0 loss. Oilers again 4-2 loss. I mean, that's a decently close game. Toronto 9-2 loss. 3 more games left on the season. Can we find a way to get our second win of the year or not? Anaheim 8-0 loss, Columbus 10-1 loss, and Chicago 5-1 loss. So our only win of the season comes over the Edmonton Oilers, who likely have, yes, they made the playoffs with 51 wins. So I do feel great about that win for sure. But our team literally, in the first 3 years, 0 points, 1 point, 2 points. So once we actually start winning multiple games, it's going to be pretty damn impressive, I think. But let's take a look at our player stats for the end of the season. We do need to look at probably team stats as well, so let's do that. We do see Banak had a 52-point season. That's actually pretty impressive to lead the team, which means maybe Klinga had a really good rookie season. He's not going to probably win the Calder because of his plus-minus, but let's go to the entire league here and see what our stats were looking like as a team, even though we don't usually take a look at this very often. We're scoring 1.49 goals for per game now. We allowed 7.01, so offense is absolutely atrocious still. But the fact that Banak had over 50 points and we had 122 goals as a team, he was involved in almost half of our goals, which is insane. But allowing 7.01 is pretty damn high. 9.5% on the power play, and penalty kill was 65.7. We did score a short-handed goal this season, so that's kind of neat. I don't know if that's the first one we've ever scored or not, but our only win, obviously, against the Oilers on home ice. So there is that. Let's do a little bit of surprise with the player stats. We know about Benax, but I'm going to close my eyes here and change over to position because I know how to do this with my eyes closed. And let's take a look at some stats here. So there's Adam Benak, 52 points, 82 games, minus 139. 13 of his points were on the power play, but Benak is actually really developing well. From a few years ago only having 16 points to having 52 already, and his plus minus improving, he honestly might be the guy for the team to keep on developing. He might be here for the long term. He did have one shorthanded goal, so he had our only shorthanded marker. Was exactly 50% on faceoffs too, so I think he had a pretty good effort considering this team obviously still has a lot of work, but that's a great season for him. Reber had 36, so Reber continues to be relatively consistent. And his stats also got much better in terms of goal scoring this year. So, yeah, Reber's looking good, but obviously doesn't have much potential, so I don't really expect him to still grow, even if he is producing. But he's definitely a guy that I might want to hold on to for the minors for the long haul, just because he could be like a captain in the minors if we want. Keller on the top line, 22 points. So he was playing next to Benak and Klinga, but he didn't really do that well. So that's kind of surprising. So we probably definitely need a still really good right winger in that spot if we have the chance. Mullen on 10 points in his rookie season. Not bad, 7 goals. Only a minus 105, so still needs some work. And then Ramsey on the fourth line actually did okay too. 7 goals and 9 points without any power play time and was minus 62. Sazongoth had 9 points, so definitely need better depth scoring still, but Benak leading the way. We are going to skip over to right wingers for a second just because I want to leave Klinga to last. These guys are just filler players except for Zaheski, who had only an assist in 82 games, so Veet's definitely somebody we need to look to replace at some point for sure. A minus 100 with only an assist in 82 games. I don't know if he's not getting a lot of ice time. He's getting 10 minutes, but still. What is he doing for those 10 minutes? He's not defending. He's not picking up points either. Just kind of insane. So there's that. Let's go to left wingers now so we could take a look at Klinga's stats. 41-point rookie season. I'll definitely take it. Minus 146. 20-goal rookie season is really good too. That might be the most goals a player on our team has scored. He is also up to an 82 after 1 year, which is good. 5 power play goals, 12 power play points. Preseason was good too. Yeah, he's looking like he's going to be a good goal scorer based on that. Considering he's picking up around the same amount of goals as assists, I think he's honestly going to continue to go up from here. And hopefully we could surround him with some good players so that way we could have a better team. Masterliski also had a pretty solid season though with 30 points. Kearns had 17 as that low top 9. And then Seaver is an R, so I don't care about him. Defensively, Antonio, 39 points for Dave Antonio. Despite him being a DFD, that's pretty impressive. That's actually relatively impressive. I don't know if it's because of more ice time or something, but he only had 2 goals all last year. Now he's up to 11 goals this season. 39 points as a DFD. So that send-in might make him more of a two-way defenseman. He actually got less ice time this year, technically. All right. Does throw a lot of hits, too. Damn, I didn't realize that. Over 200 hits, over 150 block shots. So, Dave is looking pretty damn good on the back end. Pretty damn good. What is that? Coach satisfaction, very low, so maybe we should look for a new coach still at some point in time. Albatozer had 30 points as well. Albatozer is up to a 71. Let's go. Okay, that's really good. That is really good. Obviously, he doesn't have a high ceiling, but he could still be useful. His shooting is getting decent. His passing is getting decent. Maybe Albatozer could be a dark horse considering he did have 9 power play points as well. So, liking that. 17 points from Emerson in his rookie season. 8 goals. That's pretty good. Wall, the French defenseman, had 12 points. Vapanik, 4 points. And Bednar only had 2 assists. But, in general, pretty impressed with the defensive core in terms of their production, I'd say. And then from a goaltending perspective, Lysak posted an 850 save percentage. We saw that he picked up our only win. And he did have a sub-7 goals against average, so he played for sure better than the Italian goaltender in Pojar. But obviously, they both have still a lot of work to go before they become good goaltenders. So yeah, there is that. Let's take a look at some stats around the league briefly. I don't really care too much around the league except for the rookie stats, but Connor McDavid led the way with 130 points, but we beat him in a game, so that is awesome to see. How actually was McDavid against us, considering he's a 99 overall? If we go to game logs, oh wow, okay, looks like some of the games he was good against us. If we go split stats, we can actually see how he was against us specifically, because I am kind of curious on if he destroyed us or not as a 99. Do we have to go to the bottom of the list because we're a created team or what? Oh yeah, we do. 4 points in 3 games, so he's just over a point per game against us, but still. The fact that we only allowed him to 4 points in 3 games as a 99 overall, I'd say is definitely a W. Aside from that, in terms of the defensive points, the best defenseman was Quinn Hughes with 93 points. Best goaltender in terms of wins, Igor. Not a surprise, really. And then best rookie for points was Klinga up there. He was top 5. He was top 5, but obviously the plus-minus, he will never win a Calder because of that. But Pickard, who was also a pretty high up pick, 4th overall, had the same amount of points, 25 goals, but we couldn't draft him anyways. Cardwell had 43 points, and Michael Misa had 47, so those two guys maybe playing together in San Jose. But at least Klinga finished as a top 5 rookie this year, which is definitely promising. So there's all those stats. Let's find out who ends up winning the Stanley Cup this year, and then we'll find a way to see where we're drafting and what this draft class actually looks like, because we don't really know players' potentials yet, because we looked at it last and obviously nobody was scouted. So I'm curious on if that Romanian is supposed to go still 1st overall or not. So let's simulate and find out who wins the Stanley Cup this year. If Edmonton wins the Cup again this year, we beat them this season. And I will definitely say that's a huge, huge success for this roster if that is the case. But I don't think they're going to pull off a three-peat. But who knows? McDavid is a 99 overall, so maybe he can lead them to a 3rd straight Stanley Cup. So the Stanley Cup champion 2028, we should find that out here shortly, unless the sim engine is going to be slow. The winner is going to be, it's almost there, and it's going to be the TML, Toronto Maple Leafs, which means maybe if Dave was in this universe, he'd be playing for them like Bluzinski is and not as an Antonio, but the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, and then Rockford wins the Calder Cup. Interesting, okay. So another Canadian team wins the Stanley Cup. I wonder what the finals was like this year. But Toronto winning the Stanley Cup. Did they beat Edmonton for the Cup? Nope, Dallas. Toronto and Dallas for the Stanley Cup. That's interesting. So Edmonton got knocked out in round 1, which makes a lot of sense if they lost to us, I guess, in a way. But damn, didn't expect Dallas to get that far, I guess. But I mean, they do have a good roster, so it kind of makes sense. So anyways, there's that. Awards for this season. Yeah, Toronto wins the Stanley Cup, and it was a back-to-back for Edmonton in the first 2 years. I did remember that correctly. So we did actually beat a team that had won back-to-back cups, which is pretty cool for our first win in franchise history. The Rangers win the President's Trophy, and it was the Dallas-Toronto Cup Finals. Aside from that, individual awards, McDavid, the Art Ross, and the Hart, Adam Fox, the Norris, Eichel, the Lady Bing for Chicago. Damn, how did Jack Eichel end up in Chicago? Because obviously we haven't been taking a look at trades and stuff like that. Was Eichel a free agent? I don't know how his contract looks in real life right now, so that's an interesting one that he's playing in Chicago now. Appleby was the Calder for the Rangers, which he wasn't even up there in points, so I don't know where that guy was. Because, yeah, he wasn't a top 4 rookie in points. I don't know where he was. I got to take a look back at that after I edit this video, but John Tavares won the Conn Smythe. Igor wins the Vezina. All right, and he also wins the Jennings. Emerson will take home the Masterton for us, so obviously this is just always given to the guy with like the worst plus-minus. So Brady Emerson ends up getting his first award just like Dave Antonio did last year. Dave, or whatever his name is, what's his first name again? I honestly don't even remember. But Muse, the head coach of the Penguins, wins his 2nd straight Jack Adams. All right, Crosby the Selke for the 2nd consecutive year. McDavid the Lindsay, and Pasta wins the Maurice Richard. AHL-wise, let's just skim through this. David Perron's apparently in the minors right now. Any AHL awards? Looks like Roush actually was there. Okay, for our AHL team. And that's it. All right. So now comes the interesting part. Obviously, finding out the draft lottery, seeing where we're drafting, but also finding out what this draft class looks like. We'll also do some draft interviews to make sure we find out more about players that we need to. So hopefully our scouts did a good job considering our scouting pool is getting much better. But will we have the first overall pick this year, or are we going to fall? I don't really know where I want to draft, so hopefully we stay up there. We did fall to 3rd. And that's exactly what I kind of predicted. So I'm hoping the Romanian's not supposed to go first overall still. But the New York Islanders moved from 8-1. Ottawa moved from 10-2. So us, Anaheim, and LA all got completely slapped in that one. But the Islanders will have the first overall pick in this year's draft. So we're drafting at third. That's not a bad spot, because if we could still get that checking forward, that's not a bad option. But I'm curious to see if that Romanian is supposed to still go first or not. But in terms of retirements, Ovi has retired with the Vegas Golden Knights. That's kind of strange. John Tavares also retires, Brad Marchand, Erik Karlsson. So some pretty big names retiring this season, but kind of seeing Alex Ovechkin retire in Vegas is kind of weird, considering he won a Stanley Cup against them. And best goalie to retire is James Reimer. It's not a crazy goaltending retirement group. So there's that. All right. Anybody a scout now? Not John Tavares, what am I saying? Jonathan Toews, damn, man, I can barely speak. Jonathan Toews now, though, is now a coach, which is kind of interesting. All right. Coach retirements. Did we lose anybody? We lost Iginla in the AHL. And then we did lose an NHL coach. I don't know if it's a goalie coach or not, but Cameron Trotter has retired. If that's our head coach, that will give us a good chance to find a new one. But let's go do some draft interviews. And let's see if that Romanian still go early, or if he fell or not. He is still supposed to go first, and he's a franchise two-way. No! I was expecting him to be an offensive, but that makes that draft lottery a lot worse. A franchise Romanian. I was thinking he was going to be an elite Romanian, but a franchise two-way defenseman from Romania is absolutely insane. Because when I was looking at actually who was drafted from the country of Romania, there's only been one guy ever drafted from Romania in real life. And this guy is already a franchise player, so I don't know who he looked up to, but he moved to Czechia probably at a young age and became an absolute beast. But that's something I very much wish we had. I very much wish we had. Damn, that is absolutely terrible. I mean, technically we'd have him, and Antonio would have had to be second, but we fall to third, which means we will not be able to get ourselves a franchise Romanian, but we are going to be able to get ourselves that Czechian right-wing sniper in Hromis, which I think is perfect still for us. He is a gem. Looks like he's going to be a good player all around. Apparently like Guy Lafleur, interesting. Yeah, we're definitely probably going to be taking Hromis as our first round pick, just because we can't get Purrington, and these three guys are off the board. So we do have to reach a bit, but man, I wish we had this guy. I'd never seen a franchise Romanian in the entire time, because Romania doesn't really generate a lot of prospects in general from Romania, right? But then when you see a franchise one, it's like, God damn, is this actually really happening? Like, it doesn't even seem like it's an actual thing, but it is. So yeah, Hromis will probably be our first rounder for sure, which is good. Holden's a decent right D as well, but I don't think it's worth just taking a top four, obviously. So we'll probably end up finding some other defensemen in later rounds. But actually, let's go by each league, because I feel like that's a better way of looking at this, so we can see who we might select and also who we might need to interview. So in terms of Germany, there's not really a lot of good German prospects this year, unfortunately, or ones in Germany, I should say. Bayer only has medium top 9 potential. He could be still a guy we look to draft eventually, but he's not got a high ceiling. And you can see these other guys, not really a lot of potential either. But yeah, we're probably not going to really draft any of these guys unless there's nobody else around that point, considering like High Note's even listed as a bust. So there's Germany. At least we know about all the Germans supposed to get drafted. In terms of Switzerland, there is Marcoux, but he's supposed to go mid-first round, which means, once again, we probably can't get him because we're drafting already early on. But he is apparently listed as an NHL-ready top 6 forward, so he's a good player, but unfortunately going too early. Arsene's another medium 9. Maybe we could add him even though he is medium 9. There's Nichols, who is medium top 6, but he is going to be a lower overall and more of a project. Definitely would probably take a chance on him just because he has more potential. And then there's also this guy who's got low top 9. And a couple other dudes are supposed to actually maybe get drafted as well, so we'll pin them. But looks like the first two leagues that we've scouted out aren't looking the best on paper, unfortunately. I'm assuming Czechia is much better considering there was that franchise defenseman, but maybe not. Yes, there is better options technically. Yeah, Czechia is generating the most so far with obviously the franchise two-way defenseman and Hromis. Aside from that, Klepish is supposed to go late first round, so we probably can't get him, which means once again we might be stuck taking a medium 9 like Barrett as a second rounder. But yeah, it looks like there is a little bit of a lack of depth in some of these countries that I was hoping would be better, but we could always still hope for these franchise and elite players every single year at least. Aside from that, we do head to Austria. These guys apparently have not been scouted out at all, but I have 3 scouts in Austria, so that's kind of strange. I do not know why. These guys might be real players, but it's tough to say. But they're all supposed to go undrafted, so maybe that's why they haven't been scouted. But literally our scouts in Austria did not do a single thing. That's kind of strange. SHL, there is obviously that Polish defenseman that we saw. Aside from that, we do have a guy from Denmark in Getzlaff. We don't really know too much about him, so maybe he's an interview candidate. There's also Winchester, who is supposed to go, but yeah, looks like there's definitely not as much players as I was hoping for, but at least we're getting ourselves an elite player, so I can't complain too much. I just got to hope that we get, obviously, some steals in this class, but yeah, we're probably going to have to interview some of these guys going in Sweden. If we head to Finland, there is some Norwegians, though, like Grant. Christopher Grant, I think, might have to be our second-round pick. He's probably a top 6 forward, but he might be a top 9, but he is projected to go late first round, early second. So if he falls to the second round, I think we would obviously take him. Aside from that, there is also Brennan, who we don't know too much about. So there is probably some options in Finland, at least in terms of Norwegians and stuff like that, but some of the other leagues are definitely a little bit more bare than I was expecting. This guy could be a low elite, Bob Paco, but we don't know enough. I'll pin him in case. He's probably like a low 4 or something like that. We also will head to Russia because that's the other league that has players that we could potentially draft. Andrews is supposed to also go second round, so if we can't get that 1-4 that I was just mentioning about, Brad Andrews as a second rounder, might not be bad. So that would help build up our defensive core. So I think I know who I want to interview. It's going to be Andrews, that forward that was in Sweden, I think, or was it Finland? I honestly don't know, but let's interview Brad Andrews and find out a little bit more about him if we can, like his play style and that type of thing. So what kind of defenseman is he? He's a two-way. His readiness is how many years? 3 years out, so he could be like a 65 overall medium 6 or medium 4. And what is his best strength? It's his shot. He could be maybe an offensive defenseman, but it's tough to say. Tough to say. But yeah, definitely a okay prospect that we could potentially pick up. Yeah, he's probably a medium 4, I feel like, but maybe he's a low elite too, considering it shows medium elite here. I think Brad Andrews could honestly be that second rounder for us based on what I'm seeing right now. But Grant honestly could be too if he falls, so let's also interview Grant at least just to find out more about him, on what type of player he is. So he's a power forward. That's interesting. His readiness is how many years? 3 years as well, so he's probably around the same overall. Probably a top 6 forward, but could be a top 9 with a good rating. And his greatest strength is apparently his shot as well. Okay. So we do have at least some options for the second round potentially. It's probably between Andrews and Grant. And in the first round, obviously, we'll be going with Hromis for sure. Just because we won't be able to get that Romanian. Who else do I want to interview, though? I kind of wanted to interview that guy, Paco, just because he could be low elite, but I'm not too sure if it's a waste. Let's just find out about him anyways. I don't think there's really much else I'd want to ask about other players, so. What's his greatest strength to start off with? His shooting. Looks like a lot of players are good at shooting, apparently. His play style, let's take a look at this. What type of defenseman is he? He's an OFD. That's interesting. And his NHL readiness is not anytime soon, it looks like. So he's probably a 5-year out plus low elite, maybe? Yeah, he might be a 5-year out low elite offensive defenseman, but Is he for sure that, or is he just a low 4, or even worse than that? But Paco could be interesting. See, I think I know who we're going to select at least early on, but later rounds probably not as much. But man, am I disappointed that we're not getting ourselves a franchise Romanian. If you guys have ever seen a franchise Romanian, please let me know, because this might be the first time I think I've ever seen a player like that. But yeah, I think we know what we're going to go with. It's going to be Hromis, and then like I said, second round, it's going to be a toss-up between Andrews and Grant. Grant is projected to go higher, so maybe he would be probably the option, but Andrews looks like he could be decent too. So yeah, I think it's got to be between those guys for the second round pick. Third round, if Bayer's there, we might have to go with him, even though he's medium 9. There's other medium 9s as well that we might be able to go after too, like Barrett. So we're probably not going to have the strongest draft class, but at least it's going to give our team a little bit more potential than it currently has. So there's that. Final thing I wanted to take a look at was like the progress reports and also the contract situation for this offseason. But looks like we are getting some good growth across the board. So despite having morale on, I think it's still working out decently for us, because Benak's now up to an 83 and his potential has shifted to high top 6. So I think it's because he was drafted early as well, but he's looking really good. He is on a lot of statistical growth, which isn't a great thing, but he also is getting some good natural growth in certain areas like his defensive awareness and all that. So Benak honestly could surprise us. Aside from that, Reber's up to a 72. Same with his potential has not changed. Keller's a 66. Zongoth 64. Mullen 63. And Yeleniemi's not anything important. But Mullen has potential, but I don't think he's going to really reach it being 20. Klinga is up to an 84, which you love to see. All natural growth almost. A little bit of statistical, but looking decent. His speed dropped off, but that might be because of the preseason focus. Masterliski up to a 70. That's pretty good for an AHL top 6 as well. And Kearns is up to a 65 as a low 9. Right wing side of things, Veets up to a 65. Defensively, Antonio is up to an 81, so he's a legit defenseman now. Albatoser jumped up a lot to a 74, so he's close. Emerson's a 65, Vapin a 63, Bednar 62, Seidel's a 60. How was his AHL season? 23 points, not bad. Not much different than the NHL. And Lindstrom's not ours. Goaltender, Lysak 65 overall now as a fringe starter. And Pojar's up to a 60. And then how was Isaiah Whitmore's AHL season? Probably not very good. 3 wins this season. So the AHL team actually had more victories this season than last year, I think. But Isaiah Whitmore, who is, I believe, the Slovak goalie? I think he's Slovak, if I remember right. Anyways, he played decently in the AHL, so shout out to him. He got a bit of growth. And he's the only one that matters down there. Actually, Wall went up to a 58 because they sent him down for some reason, but Wall up to a 58 is nice. Anybody else? I don't think so, right? Oh, Ramsey a 55. All right, looks like at least all our players that we have drafted are getting some growth, so that is a big positive. All right, final thing, the contract situation. Obviously, we are getting into the stage soon where we're going to have to start giving contracts to guys we've actually drafted. So, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Benak's going to need his contract, same guys like Reber, Masterliski, that type of thing. But what is Benak looking like he wants right now? 5.7. Damn. That's more than I expected. But we could always give him a trial run. If we go 8 years, his asking price goes up to over $8 million. So maybe he actually has the chance to become really good for us based on that. Guys like Reber and all that are not going to have much of an ask. Yeah, they just want 2-way contracts. So, yeah, pretty much we should have the same team back again next season. But at least Hromis should jump into our top line right away. And that should make us a little bit better even. So, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Europe United Draft to Glory franchise mode. So, in next episode, we will take it to the offseason again. We'll make hopefully some good decisions at the draft. Hopefully get some late steals, even though it doesn't really look likely. But I am excited at least that we're still getting another elite player to continue building up this team, because obviously these late round picks right now aren't the best, but I feel like at some stage we'll start to find some low elites from countries we can pick from. So that will be pretty exciting. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.